everyone, it's me Laurie and I'm back with another video. First of all, I want to apologize for if you hear a child screaming in the background. I've been trying to record this video for like an hour, but my neighbor's kid is a little bit of a difficult one, so I'm sorry if you hear someone screaming. I can't really change that. But yeah, today I'm going to be talking about the pros of being an only child. As some of you may know, I am an only child, and that's not always easy. There are a lot of cons, but also a lot of pros. And a year or two ago, I think, I actually made a video on my channel about the cons of being an only child, and obviously there are a lot of cons to it. It's not always easy being an only child, but there are also a lot of pros to it. So I thought I would sum up like 10 pros of being an only child, maybe a little bit more, but because being an only child is not always annoying and boring or anything like that. It can be fun from time to time. So let's get into the video. The first one is that you have a really good relationship with your parents, or at least I do. I don't know if every only child has this. I'm speaking from my own experience. I have a really good relationship with my parents because they don't have anyone else to kind of invest their time in and to give you their love to, or at least not to another kid. So all their time and all their attention goes to me, which means that we do have a really good relationship because they do know everything about me and what I like, what I don't like, what inspires me in life. And I think that is really because I'm an only child, and because growing up I only had my mom and dad when it came to it, and that is just something that gives you a really good relationship with your parents. Number two is that you get very independent, and that might be seen as something bad, but that is also something really good, is that you get independent real quick because it happens way easier that you're home alone from a very young age on. And I'm not going to say that I was home alone at age 4, but I think from like age 8 or 10 my parents left me alone for like an hour when they went to the store, or had to go to the doctor's office when the other parent was working. And you just learn to be very independent, as well as you learn to play on your own. As a little kid, your parents don't have time for you 24/7, and you don't have any other kids to play with or to talk to, so you learn to play on your own a lot, or to just be on your own, and that really helps you with being independent. And over the years of being an only child and being left home alone and just being left alone from time to time, which is totally fine by the way, is something that you learn to be independent, and that is a really good thing, I think, as a grown-up, as an adult, that you've learned to be independent from a very young age on. The third thing, is that you don't have to share with anyone. And this might seem so stupid, but I have a lot of cousins and I have seen them fight about so many things, that because they had to share their candy, their toys, their clothing, like their friends, their parents even. I saw a lot of my friends and my cousins fight about things with their siblings simply because they had to share. And I know this sounds so selfish, but I love that I don't have to share everything all the time. As a kid, that was really heavy in me, and I actually needed to learn to share a little bit more, but now I do share. It's not that I'm a selfish person, but it's really nice that you don't have to share all the time. You make lots of friends. For example, when you go on holiday, or when you go to like a playground with your parents, or when you go anywhere, you are the only child. So in order for you to play with other children or to make friends, you need to open up and be able to talk to other kids. And I had my parents to help me with that a lot as a kid, but I was really open, really social about everything, and I learned to make friends really easily. My parents did try to, always bring a friend or a cousin with me when we were on a dinner date or when we went to a playground, but that is not all possible all the time. So when that wasn't possible, I just made friends. And with that is actually another thing that is a pro, is that you get to grow up as a very social person. My friends might even say that I'm a little bit too social from time to time. I am just a very social person because from a very young age on, I learned to talk to different people and to strangers. I learned to make friends with people I've never met, and you really take that with you once you grow up and you become a very social person, because you learned that from a very young age on that it's important to talk to other people or you wouldn't have friends. So I think that's really positive. I have a lot of friends who are only children, and all of them are a little bit over the top social, and I love that about us. Next up is that you get to adopt family, or friends get to adopt you. And with that, I mean, my parents always made sure that I had a friend around or a cousin around when they knew that we were going to do something. And I actually not really adopted, but kind of adopted one of my best friends into our home. And I think she was around every weekend for like 10 years. Or I went to her house, our parents would have dinner together and we would all hang out together. And you just get to adopt your own family. Now my best friend now, she's someone else, some different girl, but she's really adopted in the family. My parents ask about her a lot. I'm adopted into her family, and I have 2 other really good friends. I kind of have three best friends, and they're just all kind of sisters, and their families just take us in and my family takes them in. It's really fun to see how you are an only child, but you kind of get to adopt your own siblings in a way. Next up is that you get invited on a lot of trips, and that might sound weird, but people with 2 kids, they always have like an opening in their car when they're going to a playground or on holiday or to the sea or anything like that. And it's very easy to ask someone who's an only child to go with them, because when that child has siblings, you kind of have to choose between siblings. And I don't mean when they're friends, because obviously when your children are different ages, you have different friends, but like cousin wise, if you are family with someone, you can't really choose between their children. That's a little bit different. So I actually got invited on a lot of family trips when I was younger, because my family didn't have to choose between me and my siblings. It was just me, and they knew that when they asked my parents for 1 kid, that's all they could receive. So that is a really good pro. You get a lot of experiences purely because you're an only child. Next is that you grow up fast, and that's another one that you can see as something negative, but I think it's very positive. As an only child, you need to grow up pretty fast because you need to go through a lot of things on your own, and you experience a lot of things as like the first kid in the family, which makes your parents struggle with it also a little bit. Your parents are first-time parents when they get you, but they're also last-time parents, so they need to learn a lot when they're raising you, as well as you as a kid has to learn a lot. And you just grow up really fast when you're an only child, partly because you're left alone sometimes, partly because you spend so much time with your parents. You just grow up really fast, and I think that's something very positive about being an only child. Next up is that you learn to protect yourself, and that is a really big one actually, because I heard stories of my mom. My mom is from a family of 5 kids, so they were with 5 kids growing up, and my dad is with 3 of them. And my dad is the oldest, and my dad was always very protective of his younger brothers. When they were bullied on or someone was nice to them, he stood up. And it's the same with my mom. My mom is the second oldest of 5, and she was a hard kid. She was harsh, because when anyone touched her brothers or sisters, she was something else. She really stood up for her siblings, and she really truly was like their protection, like their guardian angel kind of. And as an only child, you don't have an older brother or an older sister to take care of you, and you need to take care of yourself. when someone bullies you, you need to stand up for yourself. You can't count on older siblings. When you're fighting with your family, you can't count on other siblings. You just need to do that all on your own, and that is why you learn to protect yourself so much. You have an amazing imagination as an only child. And that is so true though. Like, as an only child, you have a great imagination. I remember as a kid, I always had imaginary conversations with friends in my bed, or I would talk to my stuffed animals, or I would just come up with stories in my head just to like kind of, you know, lose time. And you know, when you were home alone, I would like play with Lego or Playmobil and make up whole conversations with them, even though when they weren't there. So I think that's something that you get as an only child a lot more than someone who has siblings, because your imagination just really needs to be very high in order for you to have fun all the time. And then last but not least is the silence. I am someone who can't really deal with a lot of noise due to my migraine, but as a kid also I have always been very high sensitive, and well, I just love silence. And I noticed that, I realized that when I, for example, go on holiday with my family, but our whole family, there's 14 of us, 6 kids, and there's a lot of noise, and that is something that I do not enjoy. I love the silence. My parents are not noisy people. We are just the 3 of us in a quite big house, so you don't really, if you don't want to, you don't have to bother each other, and you never hear any noises. And I just love the silence so much. I really love the silence. Sometimes when I come into families with a lot of kids, I kind of need to adjust a little bit, and I kind of need to like take a breath to be able to deal with the noise that they're dealing with. And I just love being the only child in the house because it's so silent. So yeah, that were basically all the pros that I have for you. I think there are a lot more pros and maybe a lot more cons than I had said in my previous video, but this is what kind of stands out for me as an only child. You as an only child may have a completely different vision on it, and I also can't imagine how it is when you're someone with siblings, so I don't really see that side of the story. I just see the side that I have, you know, being an only child. So this is just me kind of explaining what it's like to be an only kid. And I used to hate it a lot as a younger kid. I do sometimes really still hate it, but it wasn't really my parents' choice to only have one kid, so it's not something that I hold grudges against. I just kind of found my peace with being an only child. As I said, I adopted some family members, so that's really great. Yeah, and overall being an only child is pretty good. So yeah, that is basically it for this week's video. If you have any questions about the life of an only child, you may always ask them down below in the comments. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye!